Think of Disney. Think of all the wonderful feelings it provides just by simply hearing that name. Many people may recall visiting the parks, watching movies, or visiting the stores, but rarely do people recall the man who started it all. My purpose is to inform you about the inspiring visionary Walt Disney. I will be talking about Walt's earlier life, the failures in his earlier career, and the accomplishments he eventually achieves. First, I will briefly be describing Walt's early life and how things that occurred to him in his childhood later impacted his future decisions. According to biography.com, Walt Disney had three brothers and one sister. His parents were Elias Disney and Flora Call Disney. Elias Disney was of Irish and Canadian descent, and Flora was of German and American descent. Pertaining to his childhood, biography.com states that Walt began drawing and painting in the town where he lived for the majority of his childhood, Marceline, Missouri. Walt would be inspired by his surroundings in Marceline, and neighbors and family friends began to offer to buy Walt's drawings and paintings. It was not until the Disney family decided to move to Kansas City that Walt developed a love for trains. The same website mentioned that one of Walt's uncles was actually a train engineer, and he managed to get Walt a summer job with the railroad, selling snacks and newspapers to travelers. According to biography.com, Walt dropped out of school to join the Army when he was only 16, but he was rejected for being underage. This led him to join the American Red Cross instead, where he was sent to France for a year to drive an ambulance. Next, I will explain a couple of events that led to a few miserable failures that occurred to Walt in his early career. Although Walt had a decent childhood, nothing could have prepared him for all the unfortunate circumstances he would have to face before reaching immense success. As stated on the Walt Disney Family Museum website, Walt left his job at Kansas City Film Ad Company to form his first ever animation studio. He decided to call this small studio Laugh-O-Gram Films Incorporated, but he later entered into a bad business deal that eventually cost him his company. The same website also includes a direct quote Walt said. The quote states, "I think it's important to have a good, hard failure when you're young." When Walt moved to Hollywood, he lived with his brother Roy. They started work on a new series called Alice Comedies, which was popular until audiences lost interest. Following Alice, Walt began developing a new series featuring Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. According to IMDb, the series was successful until Walt discovered that MJ and Charles Mintz stole the rights to Oswald away from him. Luckily, Walt started doodling while taking the train home. These doodles later led to the results of Mickey Mouse. Finally, I will be illustrating Walt's proudest accomplishments in the world of animation. After the creation of Mickey Mouse, things started to improve for Walt and his brother, as their careers were on their way up. The official website of the Walt Disney Family Museum states the success of the Silly Symphonies gave Walt the encouragement to begin the process and production of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It goes on to mention that industry insiders scoffed at the innovative ideas Walt Disney had, and they began to call the project Disney's Folly. Disney's Folly was further proven as the months turned into years. Obviously, during this time, the budget only continued to climax as production fell further behind without any compromise in sight. When Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs finally premiered, it shifted from being one of Walt's wild gambles to a box office sensation, as explained on the Walt Disney Family Museum website. Snow White was just the beginning for Walt, because he was always thinking ahead. He said it best by stating, "When you're curious, you find lots of interesting things to do." In conclusion, Walt Disney lived an incredible life, because things were not always easy for him, but he persisted and never gave up on his dreams. I discussed Walt's early life, the failures in his earlier career, and the accomplishments he eventually achieved. I sincerely hope that next time any of you hear the name Disney, you remember that it was a name before it was a company, of a man whose dreams and aspirations were much bigger than any failures he might have encountered.